want to try to understand Be'ez Hashem a little bit. We talked a little bit about touch. Talked a lot about it. What is actually happening when a person touches? What's unique about the sense of touch versus all the other senses? And how do we see this in halacha? And how do we see this on Piteres aside? So let's start off with a lot of the things that we're going to talk about is things that we've learned. So try to get everything together into one yesod. So the Beis Yosef in Iyyar Siman Kuf Tzadikei Nechas brings down from the Tshuvas Ramban about a case where a man and a husband and a wife are married. The woman is in a status of nida, and she's not well, she's a chayla. Whether the husband can check the doifik, the pulse. And it's clear that we're not talking only about the hand, the pulse of the hand, we're actually talking about the chest. So the Ramban writes that the Beis Yosef quotes the Ramban that in certain situations, if it's a matzav dachok, it's a certain situation that you don't have an alternative, then it's okay for the man to do that. So the Beis Yosef writes that what the Ramban is writing is only according to his opinion, that he holds that there's no biblical, there's no minat Torah, there's no Iyyar minat Torah of negiah. There's no Iyyar minat Torah of touch. That the Iyyar is more than touch, but touching itself there's no Iyyar. However, according to the Rambam, which the Rambam holds that negiah touch is also minat Torah, so according to the Rambam, he would hold that you're also now allowed to, even in matzav dachak, even in certain situations, you're not allowed to touch. This is what the Beis Yosef quotes B'Shem Rambam, in the name of the Rambam. Where do we find this in the Rambam clear that the Rambam writes this? So in the Agdama L'Hilchas Isur Bia, the Rambam, the introduction to the laws of Isur Bia, Mitzvah Lamed Zayin, he writes, Shlo Yikarev Adam Le'echad Me'arayis, Afal Pi Shelo Yibal. That there's an Iyyar, there's a prohibition that a person should not get close to arayis, to someone that they're not allowed to be intimate with, even if there's no end, even if there's no consummation of that relationship, it's still asim minat Torah. So that's negiah is asim minat Torah. The same thing also the Rambam writes in Hilchos Isur Bia Perek Chaf Aleph Halacha Aleph. Kol haba l'erva, oishe chabak v'nashak derech taiva nenem keru basar loikim minat Torah. That if you had intimacy, or even if you hugged, or you kissed, derech taiva v'chiba, in a way of pleasure and enjoyment, then this is a Iyyar minat Torah. Loitikriv legalis, there's a Iyyar minat Torah, we brought down this Sifra, that says it's the Iyyar of lo yigala, shouldn't be revealed, which is actual gila arayis, the actual intimacy, and also there's the Iyyar of touch. And the Rambam brings this also in the Minyan Mitzvahs Loisas Shinun Gimel. So there's three pratim over here, three details. One is the Iyyar minat Torah of arayis is even negiah, that it's minat Torah. The Iyyar is only in negiah, dafka through touch. But like the Rambam writes in the next halacha, l'sachak ima lahaka roisha, which means not physically touching, but showing other types of affection. So the Rambam writes, makas mardas, that's only makas mardas, that's midarabanan. It's only from the sage, it's not minat Torah. Negiah is only minat Torah, negiah is minat Torah. Even though l'chura there's a shtickle issue with this Rambam, because the Rambam himself writes, chibuk v'nishuk v'hadoymele, in Mitzvahs Loisas Shinun Gimel, and in the Pirush HaMishnayos and Sanhedrin, Oishe chibuk v'shenoga v'chein mitzachik im echad ma'arayis is loikim minat Torah. Tzachik echad ma'arayis means not negiah, but in the halacha of Isur Bia, the Rambam clearly writes it has to do with negiah. has to do with touch. So,
third level?
second level. This is the level is that it has to be touch.
The Rambam clearly writes
touch, and the third point, which comes clear from the Rambam, is that the Rambam also holds that only if it's derech hiba, which means. Wait a second. Let's just try to. It comes clear from the Rambam. Is that the Rambam also holds that only if it's derech hiba. Wait a second. That's a different halacha. That's only makas mardos. That's makas mardos. Talking about the Issa min Torah. The Issa min Torah. No, but there he says that it's the L'tzachikov is like that you get Malchus. L'tzachik is not derech hiba. It's derech hiba for sure. Anyways, what comes out, it appears from the Rambam clearly that the Isser is a prohibition of negiah, dafka touch, and it's Isser min Torah, and the Isser is if it's derech hiba, which means that the Rambam is saying that it's not just touch in its own, and we'll see how that works, but it's only touch that has a story. There's some type of story connected to the touch. Like we brought on yesterday from the Pnei Yeshua, the Shuvas of Pnei Yeshua, that he writes that by Isar Arayas, not by a Nida, because a Nida could be different halachas, but by Isar, because everything could be derech hiba, because it's your wife, but by other Isar Arayas, if it's not derech hiba, and it's even it's negiah, it's not going to be a problem, at least certainly min Torah, maybe not even min Rabbanan, like the Pnei Yeshua says. Why? Because there's a distinction between types of touching. Which means that generally touch on the one level, touch is a very physical thing. It's actually you doing it or you're not doing it. Are they touching or you're not touching? Touch on the other hand, we're saying that there's also every type of touch comes with a type of a narrative. That's not, I'm saying, okay, I'm just touching this table. Every type of touch. No, you're not just touching the table. There's something that you're relating to the table that's also touching the table. There's the actual physical act of touching, the negiah itself, and then there's also the negiah, the touch, that also has something that's going on in your mind that's connecting yourself to that table. And then there's also the negiah, the touch. So let's use a different language just to give it mind. Connecting words. There's something that's atzmi, and which is like the essence, the core of the thing itself. And then there's something that's giluyim, or like manifestation, revealing, projection. Right? And then so everything in this world, we have these two aspects. There's the thing itself, the thing as it is in itself, right? Which is the essence of the davar, the thing in itself. And then there's the thing, how it's projecting towards you and how you're receiving that projection. And that's like the story that's being projected, the color that's being projected, towards you and how you're receiving that projection. And we also learned from the Shem Shmuel, and that's like the story, where that's being projected. It speaks about the different the senses, and he divides the senses also into Eish, Mayim, Ruach, Afar. Speaks about, and in his way of understanding it, Eish is connected to sea, Mayim is connected to water, is connected to Re'ah and Tam. In his way of understanding it, Eish is connected to sea, and Ruach is connected, Mayim is connected to hearing. It's brought up in other svarim, all the commentaries in Sefer Yitzir, we're talking about Dal Yisoidus, whereas here how he speaks about Sefer Yitzir. Also say that Re'ah is really connected to the Koyach HaYuli, like the highest potential, which is like the fifth dimension, but Afar is always going to be connected with touch. Why? Because Afar, earth, is very immediate, very tangible. Fifth dimension, right? You're touching it. Afar is always going to be connected with how the quality of earth is very tangible. We spoke about it when we talked about Afar, but one of the qualities of earth is that, in contrast to the other qualities of the other four elements, is that you don't see in earth, the earth itself, the concept of earth itself, you don't see any life, any vitality, any movement, right? Which means you see ruach, you see wind is going, fire is moving, water is flowing. They all have a sense of tnuah, movement. And Afar has this condition of something that's stationary, something that's present. They all have a sense of tnuah. And wait a second, the Hasbam Mashas, and you mentioned then that the Maral, that's so that Afar, in a way, is the essence atzmius of these manifestations. So let's use this phrase again. So when you have something that's atzmi and gilui, something that's the essence of something and its revelation. So the essence of something is not moving; it's stationary. It's the thing in itself. It's no projection. It's not revealing. It is what it is. What is being revealed is fire, wind, and water. So the atzmius of every single thing is the opposite. The same. So on one hand, it has less vitality and less movement, but in the opposite end, because it has less vitality, it actually is the essence of the thing itself. Because the essence of the thing itself doesn't project, doesn't move, doesn't change. This is also similar to when we talk about the Mishush, the sense of touch. That the sense of touch is, and this is brought down in the Yerushalmi, the Rambam, the Meir, and the Metziya, we learn this, that all the senses are connected to a particular body part. The eyes to see, ears to hear, mouth taste, mouth smell. And the Mishush is distributed throughout the entire body. A sense of touch is distributed throughout the entire body. So what does that tell us? That it's an essence quality. And the Mishush more so, it's also not in the face. Which means you don't have more essence quality, I don't know scientifically speaking, but you don't have more sensory perception of touch in your face than in your hands, in your chest. But the point is that that's not specific to that, which means that in a person, when you see the person, when you look at a person, in their giluyim, when one of them manifesting, you just look at a person, the person has eyes, they can see, the person has a nose, they can when you look at a smell, the person has ears, they can hear, okay, that's mouth, they can taste. And where do you see the sense of touch? You don't. You actually don't see it. It's not specific, which means it's not a certain projection. It's actually a quality that is throughout the body, and it's a quality that is the essence of all quality. Just like we say with upper, it's like the essence, which through that upper you have wind, fire, and water, which is manifestation, projection, but the core of the thing itself is stationary, and it's in everything. The same thing also with the quality of touch. There is, which I just found out, the nice kedusha is that tasting. The first thing is actually touch, which will be very clear to what we just said. It's like it's the yesod and the foundation through which all the senses, which is revealing, it's the way we interact with the world, the outside world, but in the way when you act with the world, in its projection. Senses, which is revealing. You're not seeing the essence of the thing itself. You're seeing in its projection. Let's say sight. So we had also from the you're not seeing the Torah the thing itself. You're seeing the son of the brings down this idea that the sense of touch is not through Emtsoi, which means when you look at something and you're seeing it, you're seeing a particular color. So you're not seeing the essence of that thing. You're seeing the way the light refracts on that thing, and that's the projection of that idea. And most times when you're actually looking at something and you're seeing it in that color, you're actually not seeing the thing. You're seeing what it's rejecting. Let's say if you look at a piece of blade of grass, grass is actually not green. That's the one color that it's not. The one color that it rejects, and therefore you see it as that color is green. So it's actually totally not honest what it's actually telling us. It's a totally projection of that idea. The same thing goes with all our senses. If you're hearing or you're smelling or you're tasting, you're not getting. Tasting, we'll see, maybe is a little bit more connected. Maybe we should just say that the Rambam writes in the Meir and then the Meir brings down in Doresh Loshon Hedyot that we have that he says that the Mishush is actually very closely connected to the sense of taste. So that's a little bit different. But just we'll take the idea of seeing something or hearing something or smelling something, you're getting its projection. You're not getting the thing in itself, because the sense of touch is connecting to the essence of the thing itself. You're not getting the thing in itself. This is why when the Torah says that that you should eat from the tree of knowledge, you can eat from all the trees. Just don't eat from the tree of knowledge. So what does the snake say? It says that also you shouldn't have, you should also not touch it. Eat from all the trees. Just don't eat from the tree of knowledge. Why is the nachash add touching? Why dafka touching? Why does it say touching? Because in essence, when you're having a hana from something, when you're having enjoyment from something, you're not having the thing itself. If I am seeing something, you're not having an analogy. If I see a beautiful painting, or if I hear beautiful music, or I smell a beautiful fragrance, I'm having hana from it, but I'm not connected to it. Because the thing is being projected, it's giving off a pleasant smell. Let's say you smell a fruit that has a pleasant smell. So when you're smelling the fragrance of the fruit, you're not actually holding the fruit. You're not actually internalizing the fruit. You're smelling its projection. If you see a beautiful fruit and you hear beautiful music, you're seeing the projection of that thing. You're not seeing the essence of the thing. If you see a beautiful fruit, it's one step removed. It's this idea of them. Let's try to get through the essence of the thing. If you see a beautiful fruit, fine. It's not the essence of the whole thing. You're not touching the thing. The thing is releasing smell. The thing is it's a release of the essence of the thing is releasing a scent. You're not touching the thing. Yeah. But it is not the smell. Of course not. It's a release of the essence of the thing. It's a step removed. It's like through them. Sorry. You're getting to it through this. It's a step removed projection. That's why in an interesting way, they say kol mara v'reach ebo mishum negiah, right? It doesn't have negiah kol mara v'reach. It's ebo mishum negiah kol. It says and loy nana v'loy moilon. You're not allowed to nana v'hem, but just learned last time. It's also, but you're not allowed to have a nux. Because having a nux, let's try to understand what the nachash is saying. When you have a nux from something, you're not actually having the thing itself. But if I tell you, the whole kodesh lehiga, you shouldn't touch this thing, it's actually telling you something much more. When I tell you, you can't have a no, you can't have pleasure from this thing, it means what this thing is projecting, you're not supposed to have benefit from it. When the Torah says you shouldn't touch this thing, don't touch this thing. Let's say it's a sefer Torah, kedusha, whatever the Torah is saying, not to touch it. What is the Torah saying? The Torah is saying is that there has to be a clear boundary between you and this object. You're here, and the object is there. If you're going to touch it, by definition, the touching is violating its sacredness. In a way even deeper, by definition, I'm not talking about halacha, I'm talking about an idea that when you have a na from something, so you're taking pleasure, you're saying, the thing itself is, I don't own it. The Mara of the base of English, I'm not owning it, I'm just looking at it, and when it's being projected, I'm having a pleasure from it. But if I touch it, then I'm actually, there's like an atzmistic connection between the atzmis of me and my sense of touch with the atzmis of that idea. And what is the idea of not to touch something? Not to touch something means that it's sacred, that it's removed. This is why the other Talmud that we learned that he said that maybe the intention of the whole of the Isa of eating from the tree of knowledge was not that they shouldn't eat from it, but they shouldn't touch it. Because eating from it is the benefit that they would have. What's the benefit they would have? They would have das. And Hashem doesn't want to give it. Hashem wants us to have das. Hashem doesn't want us to say that we own it. And ownership is to touch. If you have enough of it and you have pleasure from it, so that's its manifestation. You're not owning the thing itself. What it has benefit, you're taking benefit. Hashem wants you should have benefits from awareness. But don't say that you own it. And that's the relationship to touch. That's why it's something that's called, the teaching from the Baal Shem said, Baal Shem writes, Mishem Sadigan. These are one of the teachings that Baal Shem said in the name of Sadigan, which we don't have a machir for us touch. Some people say that Hashem said himself that he actually Google Sadigan, but he used to say Chav Torah from Sadigan. The Torah is etzem kashetayvus mitzvah the Torah is bikulah. Etzem, something that's atzmius, something that's essence. When you're typhus, a little bit of it, you're typhus the whole thing. So we talked yesterday about this idea of being the mixas, that there's sometimes a being mixas. Being mixas doesn't mean that. Being mixas means that if you enter a certain space, it's like you enter fully into that place. Because you're started the process of already entering. There's another thing. The tfisa. If you're typhus something, if you hold something in your hand, not if you see it, not if you smell it, not if you taste it, and not if you hear it, but when you hold something of an essence, something that's a unified whole, so to speak, and your typhus because the atzmi is built in the schalik, and atzmi is like a thing, something that's an essence. There's no two essence to one thing. The essence is the essence of it. And if you have a grasp through your atzmius, if you're an essence, and through your sense of atzmius, which is sense of touch, you're touching that object, and you're typhus that object, you're typhus the entire thing. Sense of touch. This is what the idea of tfisa is. Tfisa means that you're holding it, and you're saying that you have the thing itself. And we're supposed to say that this thing is sacred, and that we don't have it. This is also what's saying that you have a little bit deeper in the tshuva of Avnei Nezer. And we're supposed to say that this thing is sacred, tshuva of Avnei Nezer in the Rechaim Kafkuf Yudches, right? The difference between the Sefer Torah is the takanas of one of the Yudches Vorim in the Rechaim. The Chazal said that one of the things is that the Sefer Torah is Metamas Yadayim, right? The Sefer Torah makes your hands impure. If you touch the Sefer Torah, the cloth of the Sefer Torah, your hands become impure because it used to hide the truma, etc. About the Sefer Torah. It became Kisvei HaKodesh. The Avnei Nezer wants to understand what's the difference between a Sefer Torah that you write in Loshon Kodesh, proper Sefer Torah, or let's say the Gemara says you're allowed to write a Sefer Torah in Loshon Yavanis. Let's say you write a Sefer Torah in Loshon Yavanis. You write a Sefer Torah in Greek. A Sefer Torah in Greek technically is kosher, which means only for a person that speaks Greek. If you understand Greek, and it's a language that you understand, if you write a Sefer Torah, which means take the Torah scroll, and in Yavanis, it has the kedusha Sefer Torah, and you're allowed to read it on Shabbos. You're allowed to open the Sefer Torah, roll it out, it says in Greek, you're allowed to read it. Who is going to the mitzvah of Kriyas HaTorah? If there's a mitzvah, the people understand Greek. Now, the Gemara says that which Sefer Torah is Metamas Yadayim? Only Sefer Torah is written in Loshon HaKodesh. Only a Sefer Torah is written in Loshon HaKodesh. That is the one that is Metamas Yadayim. So the Avnei Nezer says like this. What's the svar? What's the oimek? What's the depth of the svar? It's like this. If you understand Greek and you write the Sefer Torah in Greek, okay, you understand. You have a tfisa. You have an understanding, a grasp of what the Torah says. It's written in your language, so there's no mystery. There's nothing more to the Torah. The Torah is telling you. It's like when you read something in English, let's say, or in Greek. You read the thing. There's no mystery. You read stats to the Torah. Or statistics, or something that's very technical. You read what it says. You should go here. You should do that. You should do this. You should eat kosher. You should keep Shabbos. You're reading a technical, something prose, a manual. You're reading a manual. There's no oimek to the manual. There's no depth to the manual. No, you know what it says in the manual. Okay. So therefore, he says like this: when it's a Greek Sefer Torah, your tfisa is you grasp it. There's nothing deeper than this. However, when you write the Sefer Torah Loshon Kodesh, no matter how much you know, the Loshon Kodesh is hiding something 1,000 times deeper, a million times deeper. So therefore, just like you don't have a tfisa in seichel of what the Torah is, the same thing also you can't say I can touch it. Why not can touch? Because when you touch something, what is the definition when you say I touch it? When you're saying you're touching it, it's saying that I am related to that thing, and me and that thing now are becoming unified. You can't say that with the Sefer Torah. That's different than all the other senses. You don't have that same experience with sight. You don't become one with the vision that you see. It's internalized. It's almost actually comes into your head upside down. It's internalized in your head. It still remains opposite from you. There's still richok. When you shemei something, there's still a richok between what was said and the person. When there's reach, there's still richok. There's still separation. Where is the cure? Where is there actually connection? Connection to touch. When you touch something, you're connected. And what connects to what? The atzmius of who you are, the essence of who you are. It's not an expression of who you are because it's all over your body, and it's in every single part of your body. It's the essence of all your senses, the foundation of all your senses. And some people would say that if you don't have the sense of touch, you can't see, you can't smell, you can't taste, which means that it's the foundation of all the senses. That atzmius of you is grasping the atzmius of that thing. You can never grasp the atzmius of the Sefer Torah. That's what he's saying. That's why it's metamis yadayim. It's metamis yadayim what? So what do? So you don't touch it. That's what it's trying to say. You can't touch it. You don't have a tfisa, you don't have a grasp of this thing. The mystery is so much larger. And the moment I say that I can touch it, it means that there's no more mystery. I have it in my hands. You don't. You never do. Now, if you have an apple, you actually have the apple in your hand. There's an atzmistic connection between you and the apple. So, what we see is that there's a few dynamics of touch. It's throughout the entire body, number one. Number two, it's atzmius, so therefore it's bli emtsoy, without anything in between. It's timidius, it's continuous. It's not a sense that is awake, it goes to sleep. You close your eyes, you fall asleep, you're not eating, you're not smelling. It's always there. It's gashmi, it's physical. Unlike the other senses, which you can't touch the vision. It travels through waves, sound waves or optic waves, and it's not tangible. It's physical, and it's bekiruv, and it's close. So these are the important things about touch. These 5 ideas. Where do we find the full? Because touch is also, we say, it's the entire body. Bli emtsoy, without any separation. It's kiruv and it's gashmi. Where do we find all these things in its biggest manifestation, which is paradoxical because it's not a manifestation, in its biggest form? Where do we find this? In kiruv of ish v'ishtoi. In the kiruv ish v'ishtoi. So therefore, what we have, Chazal tell us, the Gemara says in Ksuvos, we learn that se'era means bebasar, means that it has to be kiruv basar. And if one says he bebigda v'hu bebigda is yaitz ksuva, this is a kedina meredes, like the Ritva writes. It's a serious thing. You have to actually be kirvas basar. We'll see soon why dafka, but there has to be a kirvas basar because this type of kirva, this type of connection, is atzmius. It's an atzmius thing. If you learn the Tikkun Zohar and Tikkun Nuches, it says Yisyachatz and Bail v'kirv basar the ksiv etzem atzamai. That's the pasuk. That's the verse that the Tikkun Zohar quotes to say that the yichud has to be in a way of kirvas basar. That has to be negiah, body to body. Naguf nenem and aguf. There has to be that kirvas basar. Why? Because it's etzem atzamai. Because it's an atzmius connection. So therefore, it's an atzmius connection. It has to be dafki kirvas basar. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said mishamish arum, it means on top, but it has to be b'li levushim. This is where we find this concept. Now, in the Rambam, in the Meir Nevuchim, and the Sefer HaChinuch, where he talks about the Iyyar of Dvash, there's a Loshon that Chush HaMishush cherpe hiladim. That the Chush HaMishush, which means 2 things. Number one, it means maybe tashmish. It means the full form of touch. But it also means b'chal. B'chal. The Chush HaMishush in the Rambam's eyes, in the Meir, the Rambam was saying is that a person can live a life, a meditative, contemplative, mindful, cerebral life, and connect to the higher level of his chushim, his seichel, his midas, in a higher form. Or chepri lana, there's also a chush which we share with the animal kingdom, which is a chush hamishus, the sense of touch. And he's chepri lana. This is like the lowest form of our chushim. And the Rambam makes cheap of this chush because Because you could be here so ethereal, so spiritual, and so refined, and you're connected to the sense of touch. The Ramban, or this is a tshuva, this is a Iggeris that is Miyuchas la Ramban, Iggeris HaKodesh from Ramban. The Ramban is a rebuttal to this idea. The Rambam holds that Loshon Kodesh is considered Loshon Kodesh, called a sacred language, because it doesn't have Loshon Zivug, it's only Loshon Bia. It doesn't have, it's all used in euphemisms. It doesn't actually tell us the corporeal relationship, physical relationship. It doesn't have that. And the Ramban says no, it's Loshon Kodesh because it's nevuah, and it's a language of prophecy, it's a language of the Torah, it's a language of creation, but it has nothing to do with that. And in fact, it's kedusha. He says it's das and it's kedusha, and the lashon is chibur zeh inu kodesh v'noki bizman haroi b'kavana haroi. And when it's done in a proper time, in a proper place, in a proper conditioning, then it's actually the holiest act in the world. So you could say that the difference between the Rambam and the Ramban, we're not going to say this at the end, but you could say that the difference between the Rambam and the Ramban is, like we said before, there's two types of negiah, there's two types of touching. There's touching derech chiba, there's touching derech hana, there's touching where, even though it's the sense of touch, but there's also some type of hana that you're getting from it, some type of enjoyment, which is like the manifestation of that idea, not the thing in itself. And then there's the chibur itself, the actual touch. And the difference in the Rambam and the Ramban is that the Rambam is talking about when this cheper hilanu, when it's an embarrassment and it's cheap and it's small, is when a person has all this things going on in his head. And the Ramban is talking about when a person is doing this b'kavanah roi u'makam haroi. And this is also l'chura, this is what the Yavitz writes in Metziya, the question that's asked, why did you make a bracha? How come there's no bracha? It's also hana. So he starts off saying that it's not such a hana, it's makish koichoi, and actually a person becomes weaker, and only you do hana that you become stronger. Then he says maybe you should do birchas ha-mitzvahs, not birchas hana, maybe the birchas ha-mitzvahs, the bracha for a mitzvah. And if it's Zman knows, he says Ruba Palmim, it's not Bizman of a mitzvah. And then he says, B'chal, a person always has kavanah not L'Shem Shemayim, so you don't do it. Which is really what the Agad, the Pirkei brings down, B'Shem, that B'Shem, the Zaydichav and others, you don't make a bracha because you can't do this mamish L'Shem Shemayim, mamish, without any intention. This is what you could say. Derech Agav, we saw in the Kaf HaChaim, he writes that you should actually say Asher Yotzar after, so at least you do a bracha. You should, it's interesting. And also the Zaydichav brings down you should make a bracha b'laz, right? You should make another bracha, but not in the regular language. The Zaydichav, we're going to talk about this in a second. Laz means like in the colloquial language. Okay, but the truth is, this is a big doichik. It's a big doichik. It's very hard to say that the Rambam is saying Chapri Alona because a person's kavana. The Pashas, the Rambam actually holds really that Mishush, touch, is the lowest animalistic form of our senses. Why does the Rambam hold this way? What's the foundation of the Rambam's idea? And why does the Ramban argue so strongly? This is really a question, because we said that what is the sense of touch? Sense of touch is not its glory, not its beauty, it's not sight, it's not smell, it's not sound, right? It's the essence of the thing, it's the core of the thing, it's the offer of the thing, it's like the essence of the quality of the thing. There's nothing beautiful about it, it just is. It's always bekiruv. You have to have, in order to touch something, you have to be close to it. It's gashmias. It's very gashmias. It's very, very physical, unlike the other senses that are less physical. So the Shittas Rambam, in general, is that we are physical beings. We have physical senses. We have the chusha mishush, and we have the chusha tashma, and this is all or chushim. But the truth is that ideally we have to get beyond it. That's the ultimate objective of man, is to reach a point that is transcendent of his body. Where do we see that the Rambam takes us to this furthest conclusion? Because we know there's the idea of Gan Eden, then there is Yimoysa Mashiach, and then there's Tchias HaMesim. And what does the Rambam say? After Tchias HaMesim, there's Olam Haba. But according to the Rambam, what happens is, First we go into Gan Eden. Gan Eden is afterlife after 120. Then there's return to life. There's Moisei Mashiach. Then there's Tchias HaMesim. The body is resurrected. The body receives its reward. Then the Rambam says the bodies die. The bodies die off, and we live in pure consciousness, pure level of souls, without a body. So the Rambam, Olam Haba, the ultimate of creation will be when we totally transcend this physical form. We live in a spiritual realm. The Ramban, which he writes in Sha'ar Gemul, the Ramban's opinion is the opposite. The Ramban says there'll be Yemois Mashiach, there'll be Tchias HaMesim, there'll be resurrection. After Tchias HaMesim, we will experience Olam Haba, but Olam Haba would be in the guf, with the body. That it's not a cherpe ilano, it's not something that's cheap. And we're really souls, we're really into intelligence, we're seichel anikna, we're like this pure intelligent beings that are connected to the ultimate source of all intelligence, and we should just be present in our mind. But actually, no, there's a purpose. The Ramban has an interesting way of saying it. He says, soy godel, what the body is, because he says, also in the time of Olam Haba, is less v'achil, less v'shtia. We're not going to eat, need to drink, but there's a big soy, there's a big secret in the body. And the secret in the body is that there's a tachlis in the body. Why is there a tachlis in the body? Because there's atzmius and there's giluyim. Let's try to take this a little more. There's the yesh of the nivra, the yesh of creation, the actual physical creation. There's the yesh of the boira. There's the yesh, kaviyachal, of the boira, of the creator. And then there's everything in between. The everything in between is all the lights and sounds. After the yesh of boira, there was the Ein Sof, there was infinite light. Infinite light contracted, created smaller light. The smaller light went diminished and became the world of Atzilus and Bri Yitzir. And finally came to the world of Asiya, and you have the mamish diminished light, where the light becomes so condensed it becomes actually matter, and you have the physical Asiya. In the world of light, which is manifestation, revealing, like colors, what you see, this is what's being revealed. In the world of light, there's the higher refined lights, till there's a level of light which is totally transparent. And then you have the finely condensed matter, which is the physical properties of this world. What's higher? Clearly, the higher light is higher. The world of Yitzir is higher than the world of Asiya. And as you refine this matter to its pure, refined form, which in the language of Kabbalah is Oer, but in the language of Chikira, which is the language of the Rambam and the Ralbag, it's Seichel, Sichlim. If you refine that Seichel HaNikna to the Seichel HaPoel, which is the active intelligence, the pure place of intelligence, that's the source. Everything else is just a diminished form of that intelligence. So if you're sitting in this physical body, from the perspective of the Oer, from the Seichel, from the perspective of the intelligence of the light, what's the ultimate objective? Let's get back to that source where we're totally refined, totally light, and totally in the Seichel HaPoel. Part of the active intelligence of the Creator. That's from the perspective of the Oer from the Oer, which begins the Giluyim, the revealing, the manifestations, the projections. That's like smell, taste, sound. These are all the projections. But how about the essence of the thing itself? The essence of Hashem, if we could talk about this, we can't, but we're going to anyways have to try to. The atzmius kavi'achol of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? The atzmius, the atzmus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The atzmus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not a manifestation. It's not a projection. It's not movement. It's not outside. It's not fire, wind, water. It's not a projection. It's not a movement. It's the stillness of the essence of the thing itself. Where do we find the atzmis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in creation? Where do we find it? Dafka in the physical world. Specifically in the physical world, because the yesh haboira and the yesh hanivra are linked. The yesh hanivra says, I created myself. Who can say they created themselves? Only the yesh haboira. Let's imagine if you're in the chain, if you're like the 30th link in the chain, so you know that you came from the 29th link. The 29th link knows that he came from the 28th. That's the Seder Ishtalshalos. That's the links of creation. But when you have the Atzmius, which is the Gashmius of something, the Gashmius of something says, like all atheists say, we created ourselves. The world created itself. It's combustion or whatever it was, some like major event happened and the world just existed. How could there be a creation that says it created itself? Because it comes from the yesh that created itself. That's the yesh ha'atzmi. That's the yesh ha'bar kaviyachol, that is itself. So the atzmius of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is actually connected to the atzmius of the physical world. So where do we actually have the Boyer himself, kaviyachol? Where do we actually have God himself? Wait a second, before that, the Gashmis. First, the body. The Davar Gashmi, the Chusha Mishush, is what actually allows us to connect to the actual Boira. When I'm thinking and learning and davuk in my seichel, in the oyer, I'm davuk to the oyer. I'm davuk to the seichel. If I want to be davuk to the atzmis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's the ma'aseh mitzvah. It's a physical action in this physical world. If I do something with this physical world, because the physical world is linked. The beginning is the not chalas and the end and the beginning are together, are one. It's like the beginning of the idea and the end of the idea is actually one and the same. Everything else in the middle is the process. This is not process. Atzmis is not process. Process is evolvement, movement, mayim, yesh. This is processes, seeing, smelling. The essence of the thing is gashmis. The essence of the thing is atzmis ein sof. This is why through gashmius we reveal the koyach ha'atzmius in creation. How do we reveal atzmius? Reveal atzmius in this world, even though that's paradoxical. But how do we reveal atzmius in the world? The only way we can reveal atzmius in this world is actually through creation. When we create, when we procreate, when we bring a child into this world, what we're doing is we're saying it's a bria. Of course, it's not. It's kayam ami and kayam be'ish. It's like a metaphor of that idea. We're revealing the koyach ha'atzmius in creation. That the essence can create. We create. We become co-creators. Okay, we'll have to go through the Torah of Baal Shem, the proof of is all big ideas and everything that we create. But the atzmis of where we actually see real creation in this world is when there's a yichud of gashmi to gashmi, when there's total touch with no levushim, right? You have to hold the Sefer Torah without the levushim. This is the idea of when we're totally connected, one person with the other person, with no levushim. When there's an atzmius connection to the atzmius connection, that gives the koyach to create new life. And this is what we had a shtickle in Derech Mitzvah Mitzvah Peruvu, where the Tzemach Tzedek writes. It's a concept that's brought on Kisvari, but the Tzemach Tzedek brings it down very in practical language like this: that when there's bechinas neshikin, when there's a level of neshikin, which neshikin occurs where neshikin is kissing, where does neshikin occur? That occurs in the geluyim of the person. It occurs in the person's mouth, which means in the person's revelation. That's the place of the tam, the taste. When there's bechinas neshikim, which means when there's a yichud of bechinas neshikim, so there is all rights. This also happens on a higher realm, but even on a physical level. When there's yichud of bechinas neshikim, there's creations of malachim. Angels are created. Angels are projections. Angels are messengers. A messenger means a process. It's a conduit of energy. It's moving something from one place to another place. It's part of the Giluyim. When there's a yichud of bechinas neshikin, what do you create? What are you projecting outwards? That means that you're really creating it. You're creating malachim. You're creating processes. You're creating revelations. You're creating, maybe even love between partners. Which is a beautiful thing, but it's a manifestation. Where do you have the bria of neshamas? Neshamas is actually through yichud mamash. When there's a total yichud of guf leguf, body to body, beli levushim, and there's a complete merging of these two bodies, that is when there's an atzmistic connection, and there could be this revelation of this koyach ein sof in the bria of a child and the neshamas on the shama. This is the higher level of touch, that dafka through touch. But the condition of that is that you have to put yourself out of the story. Because if you're projecting in the story, then it's not negiah mamash. Just like the Rambam, which we started for in the beginning, that there's negiah shel chiba, and there's negiah just in essence. Over there worked the other way around. There was allowed, that's not allowed. It means that when you have negiah, which is the idea of the essence, but you have a whole story. You want to have anah, and you want to have pleasure, and you're looking for some comfort. Whatever your story is, that's a steer to have real yichud. There has to be re'usa, it has to be chedvasa, the Rambam said it has to be besimcha, and it has to be besicha, and it has to be dafka not a ben sanua. These are all positive things. But the yichud itself can be, what am I gaining from it? Because if the moment I say I want to gain something from it, then it's not yichud. It's not full yichud. It's not the yichud that creates the shabbos. That doesn't mean you can't bring down physical bodies, but it's not in the full form of yichud. And the yesh loimer, maybe this is why the Zidushavah says that you should make a bracha. It's the Agar the Pirkei, he writes that it's tam kamos, doesn't want to say, but they used to say that the Zidushavah said you should say a bracha belaz in local colloquial language. So what Pashtus is saying is because not everyone understands it, and you're not going to understand it, you're going to think it's just, if you're doing it just lanos atzma, you're going to think that's also positive. You have to really do l'shem yichud. L'shem yichud kutcher b'chishchinta, you have to do for that yichud. So it should be real intimacy. Real, that, if I'm there, it's not intimacy, it's not yichud, it's not achdusa. Wait, one second. So, B'chlal, there's Vadayas Rishtava Chacham. In the Yerushalmi, it's brought out the Sefta, it's also brought out the Bavli. There are Meir says that whoever says Shabara Chayfetz Hazeh, if you say a bracha, Ma no zeh, Shabara Chayfetz Hazeh, you want to eat something, you say Shabara, who created this Chayfetz? How beautiful is this Chayfetz? The Sefta says, so on says on a pas, and so on says on bread. Ma no zeh, then you yoitze. So Shittas Meir, it's not La Lacha, but Shittas Meir. Why does Meir Dafka say this? Because Meir was able to be zoyrek the klipa and get to the essence. Meir was able to say the bracha and laz. The bracha of Matbe'er Shetava Chacham in the language that Chazal tell us, that's the revelation, that this is the way we connect, you make this bracha. But there's a bracha and laz, which is the language, the colloquial language, Dafker Meir, who was able to learn from Acher and say that I can get to the core of something, I can strip it away. That's a messianic idea, that's a Mashiach idea, to be able to understand that in the yichud of the guf, there can be that type of higher revelation, that even in that type of yichud, we can make a bracha and Dafka Belaz, because that would be L'Asan Lavi, when even the Lashon Laz would be turned to Lashon Kodesh, and Meir V'Yameinu. Hey, Rav Yameinu. Lashon Am Zu. That's Balaz. Yeah. I said Mavarit.
Like she's also.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the languages will be Mavatal, or just that they will also be considered?
La'asad Lavi, all languages. La'av the Kulam Shechem Bechel, L'Safa Brura. What's La'asad Lavi? La'asad Lavi, all languages will be part of Lashon Kodesh.
Even languages like Aramaic that are man-made?
Every single vibration in this world is be'etzem in its shoyers Lashon Kodesh. It's just it's the achorayim today of Lashon Kodesh. It's the backside. We call it a table, and Lashon Kodesh is a shulchan. The shulchan is the pnim of the acher. There'll come a time when the acher will become part of the pnim. That's the absence of exile, and there'll be a language that will include all the languages. That's the highest level, Lashon Kodesh.
There's also the Gemara that says that, I forget who, maybe we wouldn't know, so you saw maybe Iyyar,
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's right. That's the same idea. You have to be misatzim with the thing. That's the same Gemara. That Gemara, lo yikanef, no more kanef, no more separation. What I want to say is basically that the sense of touch is, even though it appears to be a cherpulana, it seems to be cheap and it means to be nothing. It's just you have to mamish touch it, hold it in your hand to have it, and it's only bekiruv, and it's all these things that are diminished in the mind of the intellectual. They seem to be very earthy and nothing. But the truth is that dafka in the koyach of touch, we have the power to connect with the Meir.
So the high what is it?
Is
Is that almost a hint that like Re'iyah and other Hushim will be more like Mishush?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking also. That's something, there'll be a time when everything will be gash. It says V'ro kol basar yachtav, that the basar will see. It doesn't say that the eyes will see. Whoa. The flesh will see means that your senses will be awake, that you'll see in a way of touching. That's another thing. But the basar is the basar, the flesh.
Going back to the Rambam and the Ramban.
Yeah.
So they're not discussing the higher level of touch of the atzmos?
No, the Rambam is saying that in the world of seichel, in the world of where the tachlis achayim is davuk and seichel, Mishush is a very cheap sense, even for procreation, for pruvu. The Rambam says, it's shekaf shed, do it, get over with it, it's nothing, it's cheap. Sit in asagis and you'll have...
We're also making a bigger deal of that lashon, and the bigger deal that we made of that lashon than maybe he meant for that lashon, right? Cherpa alon, is it
Chapi lanim.
Cherpa alon?
Yeah, chapi lanim.
Also, it's dafka lanu, so it's not going to lashon of it.
That for him not, maybe.
Someone else, right? So the Ramban, it's not...
Could be. Rambam doesn't have this shit. What do you mean? It's a different. That's a shayla on the Rambam's Olam Haba. It's not a shayla on this. The Rambam's Olam Haba is without a body. So, if the tachlis they get out of the body, so of course chepri lana. That's like the lowest part of you.
Still, Gan Eden's not in their body.
Gan Eden's not without a body. It's without a body.
What?
Gan Eden's without a body.
Okay, where is it with the body then?
You're Moshe Mashiach, but that's the technical thing because people are living, so they have to be Moshe Mashiach. And the Rambam holds that nothing's going to change in the world. The shit is shmuel. That there's nothing, no difference. There's will be no war. No, there's will be the Tchias HaMeisim is a part that the Rambam didn't take a deal with in the Mishnah Torah. There's the Chutshuvah, he mentions it, but it doesn't deal with it in Moshe Mashiach because
It's not a cherub.
no, it can't be a cherpa. But the Rambam, you can understand what the Rambam is saying. The Rambam is saying. I'll say what this it's not seichel. What touch? What are you getting so excited to touch something? It's like so much could be so much more expansive. And then, but on the other hand, the tachlis is actually in the gashmias. There's something about because it's kiruv. It's the essence of it. It's like the offer. Is offer the highest or the lowest? The lowest thing. Yeah. Yes or no? Exactly. On one hand, there's nothing. On the other hand, all creativity and all life comes from the hakelman offer. Same idea. It's like on one hand there's nothing and everything. On the other hand, it has everything in it.
Rabbi was explaining the end of this year that simply they could make the bracha b'lan so as not to make it about themselves, but wouldn't or not to bring themselves into the thing.
I didn't say that, but you can, if you want to say that, you can say that.
Towards the end of this year, the opinion
You have to hear it again.
that you should say it b'lan so it shouldn't be about.
No, mamish.
My question, I had a question when the rabbi said that is that I would think by saying something b'lan would make me more.
No, but you're asking a question, something I didn't say. So that's a whole other level.
I misunderstood that. What did the rabbi say about why you should say it b'lan? Why someone should say it?
There's a shitta that Meir says you can make a bracha belaz. The Ziducheva writes you should make it belaz. We're trying to explain why is it belaz. Why is it? Because belaz means it's an elevation of the laz as well. There's the oir, which is the Torah which is revealed, and then there's the oir of Mashiach, which is not yet revealed. The oir of Mashiach is connected to the elevation of laz, to Loshon Kodesh. That type of transformation of the body, of the secular, of the outside, will be revealed when the gashmis will become ruchnius, will become it's atzmius. So that's why you do it in laz, because it's an intimation of Mashiach.
Isn't there a halacha that when a woman goes to the mikvah, there's an inyan of saying he wrote some shibanavis and mikdash from
It's not a halach, it's a minig.
Minhag.
Yeah.
So there's a minhag. So isn't there is that an inyan that kind of like what the Ziducheva was saying is like a kain potential?
Yeah, it's a Mashiach. It's
Mashiach figure.
every time the child comes on to this world, it's part of the process of Mashiach. The more neshamas come down to the body, and the more transformed the physical becomes, the chumrius, the chaymer of the gashmius, that's the chamoyer shel Mashiach, is the chumrius. That's when Mashiach will be revealed. When we understand that, what is really gashmius, we're not embarrassed of the gashmius. We're not embarrassed of this. We can understand that this actually is. This has the whole. It's all our projections that makes all this narishkeit. Yeah.
So with this nikuda of the etzem, the gashmias, that has this connection with etzem of Hashem, basically.
Yeah.
You quoted Baal Shem Tov, or in the name of Sadi Gaon, you quoted, you mentioned the Arizal, you quoted the Tzemach Tzedek, but like, is that idea, I associate the idea with Chabad Hasidus actually with some for some reason. But would you say that
it's a Baal Shem's Torah?
Yeah, it's like a historical, like it's like a...
It's a knetch. Yeah, it's a knetch. It's a knetch to Baal Shem. But if you bring a Rambam, it almost seems that the Rambam says the same thing also in Hilchos Yisod HaTorah. Yisod HaTorah Zamud HaChachos Lo Yesh Shabbat Tzadishim V'Hom Namtze Kol HaMitzoyim Chol HaMitzoyim Nimtze El Me'itasi Matzeh. That's where the Rambam starts. Chol HaMitzoyim Nimtze El Me'itasi Matzeh. There's something about the Nimtzoyim that's Nimtze Me'itasi Matzeh. It's a very strange language. The Rambam doesn't say, most people say the Rambam calls it the primal mover and that type of Aristotelian idea. The Rambam calls there's a one beer, and that brings all being into being, and that's the connection. The Rambam doesn't go through the whole Seder Shtalshalos. The Rambam doesn't go through a process where Creator creates through all these worlds.
So it was an idea that
was revealed through the Torah of Baal Shem. Correct.
Nowadays, a lot of people are making brachos of Allah, even because they're not.
It's
They didn't finish the idea yet, but I see it was laughing.
that's
continuing with what we were just saying.
Shlom, it's fine. We had the Rambam already. We don't need the. Yeah, what do you want to say? Okay, we quote it inside. This is the Loshon Rambam. It's an interesting Loshon. Is this the way we're going to start? Yisoidus. Leidish Yasha Matzah Rishon, Mamtze Kol HaMitzoyim, the Kol HaMitzoyim the Shemaim Haaretz B'Neim Nimtze Ela B'Mitasi Matzah. This is like it's a language of Atzmius. That all the Nimtzoyim Nimtze B'Mitasi Matzah. The Nimtzoyim, the Nimtza, the essence, comes from the Nimtze Matzah. V'im Yala Dashu Ein HaMatzah, Ein HaDavar Echa Yachal Li Matzahs. The Metziya. Yeah. No, it's Chlas Mesaifim. Correct. In the Shittas HaRambam it actually works also, because the Shittas HaRambam, he doesn't talk about Seder Ishtalshus in the Bria. The Rambam doesn't go into the whole system. That's more the Ramban and it really from the Makar Chaim, from Yerushalmi and Gabriel, where they start talking about some evolution, how the boy created.
Sorry, one more.
Yeah.
Could you also say, because the other thing about the other thing that's like that is polytheism.
Yeah. Nishamas Yisrael. The Torah says that. The Torah says we're offer. I don't have to say that, right? That's Hashem told Avram Avinu. That we're offer. That's the side of offer. We're the essence of the thing, and that's why it's atzmius. And atzmius is created through that. Absolutely. What? Charpas. Oh, charpas. Sulvim b'basar.
What? They're fleshy.
Yeah, go weiter. Yeah, what?
Oh no, so I'm saying because if the Yidden are the Etzem, that means all the Goyim are Gilui.
Emes taka.
So by then,
Yeah, Emes. That's the word. That's taka the word. That's.
they can't show.
Emes taka. And the Gemara says that Parsoim is Mesurvel Mabasa. They were very fat. I don't know if historically this is what the Gemara says. So Mesurvel Mabasa actually means that they don't have proper atzmias. Their basa is like too much. It's too much basa. There's not atzmias. Yeah.
So the Zitchev is saying this idea that some say you should actually make a bracha of Lashon Las from the Meir, from the Yerushalmi.
Yeah.
So this is the same when he says Laz is a manifestation of the Giloi.
Correct.
Oh, so you're saying to lift the Giloi back to its...
Laz is not the Gilad. Laz is a representation of the world as it is. It's of the gashmis of the world. Loshon Kodesh, in our world today, there's been Choil and Kodesh. The Kodesh is the elevated, something that's nivdal. The Choil is already what's separate. There's going to come a time that everything becomes kedusha. When is that time going to come? When the basar is transformed. When the gashmis, when the gashmis is actually elevated to its proper state. When there's a recognition, it's always in this. The basar is always in the right state. Touch is always correct. We're always creating children. It's the opposite. We have to come to the realization to stop being in our head, to be just present in the body, to recognize the chiddush of the body, the chiddush of the gashmis. That dafka in the gashmis we connect. Atzmi latzamai.
Is this the inyan of teruma, of like eating within a holier state, and then also shmita, where it's like a release of?
It's all related. Yeah. It's all related. Yeah. Basar is psuras tavis. Yeah.
Okay, as it's shimush, but it's not mishush, whatever. But as it's shimush is the only like sense, but I'm not sure if that's when you use it, but it's the only sense that has like shin in the beginning and shin in the end. So like to show the gilgul that it's like starting from the highest, and it's going to be revealed again.
Two shin.
Two shin.
Yeah, that's when the beginning and the end is the same letter. Reyach is not like that.
It's definitely something. Definitely. That's what I'm saying. It's reversible. It's back and forth.
It just is what it is.
Seemingly there was a reason relevant to the person making the bracha why he should make it Loshon Laz as opposed to.
Because you're not allowed to make a bracha on Loshon Kodesh. Chab didn't make a bracha on it. That's a simple reason. That's what he said. He always get around it. So make it Loshon Laz. But the way he says it, So do before. First of all, who said you can't make a bracha when you're not dressed? Cover your no, if you cover your erva, you can make a bracha technically. I'm not saying lalach. I'm not saying that a person can be mechaven yechudim in the mikveh. How do you do? If you mafsik is a lev, okay, this is a whole other kavod, a whole thing. But it's only dafke tefillah that you need to be dressed. For other things, love dafke. We're not going to get into halachic issues of this.
The Laz removes that.
The reason why you have to say belaz is simply because there's no chacham did not make a bracha for this thing.
But if you're saying it's Shem Malchus and
You're not making a Shem Malchus.
If I say blessed are you and then I say that word in that order, that's the Shem Malchus in English.
No, that's not. The belaz means you're making up your own thing. You're not making. You're not. No, it's not. It's not.
But how do people make bracha in English then?
They have to. What should they do?
What? So this is, but this
They have to.
this idea that bracha is going back to
Chafetza.
we talking about kind of like the ending of last of the negiah, and this is the same.
The thing. That's correct. But in a way, the Gashmis always has that milah. The Gashmis always is a removal. The etzem, it's much harder to remove. That's what we talked about vision. Vision, it's much harder to remove the narrative. Because by definition, the vision is a narrative. Vision is ansoy, it's not etzem. But with Gashmias, we have to say something deep, maybe, and it's a little ein darshan baroyas before hesia. But we'll say that why taka that every children are born through, because at that moment, we're going to say that there's yichud of kedusha. At that moment, when there's mamish the peak of that moment, there's an absence of self. And when there's an absence of self, there could be taki kedusha. Maybe all the taivas and all the yitzhara was to get to that place. Maybe to get to that place. But actually, the moment to be boyer in the shamas, to bring down the shamas in this world, to bring the koyach ein sof, we must say that there was a shtickle bittul of that narrative. And we could say that every single person has that experience because it's physiologically there's a loss of sense of self. And because there's a loss of sense of self, that's when it becomes really guf leguf. So that's why it could be. You understand? Because that moment.
When you then say, you're bringing yourself back to yourself.
That's before. This is about the Shas Mais. Okay, no, yeah.
Is there a difference between Sheva Brachos and Shav B'Sarachad?
Between Sheva Brachos and what? Sheva Brachos is for to be simcha, to bring joy.
So it's not. There's no.
It's not.
There for.
No, you say because Metziya again, Mekedem, Hashem should be or Yehuda Yerushalmi. It's for joy. It's for. That's why it's only people. Sheva Brachos is only for a person that was never married, and because there's different halachas for 7 days, 3 days, because it has to do with joy. How much joy? It's just to make freilach for Chas Kala. No, not so much. No. That's what we're saying. That's what saying. No, but that's what the Tikkun Zohar says when it has to say guf leguf, beli levushim. The lashon of the Tikkun Zohar is atzam atzamai. That's what he uses that lashon. Yeah.
So you mentioned Pshat and told us Yitzchak on Nachash, which was not the normal Pshat.
Not the normal Pshat, correct.
Interesting. And then you mentioned what I think is a midrash, although I don't have seen it, that the Nachash actually said that you shouldn't touch it, but in the pasuk it just says it's Haba says.
That's correct. The Medrash says that.
And so the Nachash is really, in our thing that we talk about how the Nachash is really expanding the Iyyar to everything.
Right.
And then Haba was contracting it again, but it wasn't the original thing. It included negiah.
Right.
And so we had a hard on that, which is that either she got to that because of the Nachash,
by that.
or maybe Adam Rishon told her something different, or she misunderstood from Adam Rishon. Anyway, without the midrash of the Nachash saying that, is there anything else to say about how that idea of negiah became an Iyyar for Haba? Like what happened? Like how did that get in there?
I think there was the mistake was, according to what we were saying now, the mistake was that's another nukuda. But the mistake was, it's not about Hashem wants you to have that. Hashem wants us to give us everything. He just doesn't. He wants things to be apart, sacred. Even if you enjoy it, it should be sacred to you. It should be special to you. You shouldn't be negiah b'davar. You shouldn't negiah it. You shouldn't touch it. When you touch something, you're taking away its sacredness. You're saying, I have ownership of it. Even if I don't have anah from it. That's what we're saying, even if without anah.
So there was a certain kind of negiah at the beginning that was mutar.
Correct.
But maybe it was like a geder. It was like a geder.
Right. There was negiah that they shouldn't eat it.
And that was already halfway to making the chay.
Correct.
Right? And you already are mechale in negiah.
Correct. And if you add stuff, you're making it worse.
Now, last Kolel, you mentioned in Shiur that there's a oath which actually.
Through Riyah.
Yes, so how do you explain that?
No, Iyyar, right?
Yeah. Because God says, it says a medrash. It's a medrash in Shiur Hashem, the Arizal brings it down a few times, that there's a certain bird that they can consummate with each other just by looking at each other. But that's because of the riyah is the type of there's kirva.
They can conceive.
So it says, but there's a kirva. It has to be kirva. It's not derech roichuk. And that's what it actually says. The Arizal says sometimes the riyah is so deep. The Gemara says in the language of the Gemara, when the Gemara wants to say that if someone's doing something, it says that you saw that you saw that the person's speaking. Just the seeing someone is like a way of saying that the person is being intimate with the person, talking, dialoguing. So there's a type of seeing that we can say is, but we said before, there'll come a time when the basar will be able to see. There'll be a type of. Doesn't say. No, it's giluyim. That's koilus. That's levushim. That's levushim. There are margish atzmus. You can't. Yeah.
So the one that's mentioned in Mishnah.
Yeah.
It could also see from a very far distance, right?
That's what it says. It can do through. Yeah.
Probably, to be honest, understood this. So there's no problem with the chila, that the whole doing it with Shem Shemayim, because you get hana.
It's another nakuda. We talked about achila. It's a whole other sugya. There's anah. We're not getting into that. Achila has another. No, achila actually have to have anah on the deepest level. I told you the more nine. What?
You make a bracha.
You do have anah when you make achila. You don't have to make a bracha.
Well, the whole thing with when you don't make a bracha, the Shem
Right.
Doresh.
No, because anah is ruchnius. No, the anah is ruchnius. You can have anah ruchnius.
But if you eat something that is totally not edible, then you don't say bracha.
Of course not. No. Bracha is for brichas hanenim. It's enough. You have enough. You enjoy it. There's enjoyment. There's a higher level of enjoying the kedusha b'davar, the divinity within that thing. Okay, Beseder. We're going to daven Meir.
seemingly there was something that